What's up, everyone? Today is June 24th. It's a Thursday. I'm going to be going over the one trade I took today, one trade only. It was on AMD calls. It was a very, very good trade on my end. I netted uh, around 423 US dollars. And in terms of percentages, I netted around 55% on the trade, which is it's unbelievable. And it was a very, very well executed trade on my end. Some slight areas of improvement, which I'll go over. But as always, I love starting off with the higher time frame because it gives me a clear understanding of what's going on. So let's start off with AMD, higher time frame. So I was watching this potential setup on AMD. I was watching this 1 hour or daily 1 hour trend line wedge break, longer term wedge break, targeting rounded numbers and then 4 hour supply above. So you can see that this level is or this trend line is definitely valid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches on a daily time frame. So I tend to use 1 hour for my levels, but you can see that on the daily time frame we had 7 touches. So I knew this level was strong, I knew this level was valid, and I knew a strong breakout above this level would definitely trigger a move higher. Also, AMD's been making lower highs ever since March, which is a very, very good sign. It has strength. And then if I go over to ES and NQ, ES broke all-time highs again today. NQ broke all-time highs. So the question to anyone playing puts is, why the hell would you play puts knowing that ES and NQ just broke their all-time highs again? It's all dependent on your strategy. I know a couple of people who play puts who make good money even in this market. But it really just depends on your trading style. Mine is, more of a breakout strategy and market context with supply and demand, support and resistance. So I'm not interested in playing puts at all. When we start to see clear momentum to the downside, when NQ is maybe around 13,850 or even lower, when SPY reaches 4K and starts moving to 3,800s, then I will be interested in playing puts. But until ES and NQ stop breaking all-time highs every single day, I'm only interested in long setups. So that's the higher time frame analysis. Let's go down to an intraday time frame where I can really analyze my entries and exits for AMD. AMD 5-minute. Okay, this looks good. ES as well. Okay. ESNQ, AMD. So there's a couple of things I like about AMD. Let me just go to my checklist really quickly. The first thing is positioning a SPY and QQQs. SPY and Qs had a great move pre-market. AMD also gapped up, which was a good sign. Higher time frame, there was a good on the higher time frame. This longer term wedge was a good breakout. We had volume strength and momentum. This is a clear thing I want to go over, the fact that AMD had relative strength and how I was able to identify that. So you can see the first 5-minute candle on AMD, super bullish candle, 60, 70 point move on AMD is huge. Very, very good volume. Compare this volume to previous days, not even close. On top of that, the first 5-minute candle on ES was a doji candle. The first 5-minute candle on NQ was a green candle with an upper wick. AMD had no upper wick, super bullish candle, super strong volume strength and momentum. So AMD has clear relative strength, which makes this trade even better. So I entered a bit too early. I entered at 9:34 in like 30, 40 seconds. So a couple of seconds before this candle closed. I should have waited for this candle to close and entered here just to play it a little bit safer. That's just a very, very small improvement on my end. Only take trades in the first 5 minutes if it's super, super clear, like Tesla yesterday. But, I should have waited for this 5-minute candle to close and then maybe entered as soon as this 9:35 candle started. So that was my entry for AMD. I entered 10 contracts at a price of 76 cents. And then my final scale out was right here. This is another slight area of improvement. Why the hell would I scale out right here when we're consistently making higher lows and we don't have fresh supply all the way till 89? Could have scaled out at 87, but despite the fact that that I took my final scale out here, I netted 100% on the last contracts, and I was able to hold through a couple of red candles and a couple of upper wicks. So I'm definitely getting much better at patience. I was able to hold through this upper wick as well. So that I can see the improvement in my journey. I'm doing a much better job of scale outs, but there's definitely more room for improvement. Definitely should have been able to capitalize. Maybe if it was just on one or two contracts, but should have capitalized on this move higher. Another point I want to go over is a couple of people ask me why would I hold through this period of this move up when ES was super choppy and NQ had all these upper wicks. And the reason I found the confidence to hold despite ES being choppy, despite ES, if you're given this amount of data, despite ES failing all-time highs, despite NQ having all of these upper wicks, is simply because AMD had clear relative strength. I just went over that AMD had relative strength with volume, no upper wick, huge bullish candle. And because of those reasons, I had confidence to hold AMD. And I continuously said in the group chat, I'm expecting a much bigger move on AMD, and that's why I won't scale out as aggressively. So that's the second point I wanted to cover on AMD. My final point I want to go over is my limit out strategy. I entered 10 contracts at 76. I exited 2 at 0.90. I put a limit at 0.90. I exited another 2 at $1 flat. All I did was put my limit at 1, and retail traders chased that move. So put another one out at 1.1, then 1.2, then 1.4, then 1.6, and then back at 1.4. So those were my scale outs. Never marketed out. I just put my limit orders out. I waited for retail traders to bite, and that's how I was able to get good fills when I was getting out on my scale outs. Final thing I want to go over is you have to figure out where you are versus millions of other retail traders are in this market. I talked about this level for over a week now. I've been mentioning AMD for this longer term wedge break. And all I'm doing is, I have my levels drawn up beforehand. I'm waiting for price to reach my levels. I'm looking at market context. What I mean by that is what ES, NQ, VIX is doing, how's the volume, how's the momentum, and then I just execute my trades. I'm not interested in taking any longs all the way up here because this is where retail traders are chasing. All I'm doing is I'm entering before the breakouts, and then I'm selling my contracts to retail traders who chase. So you always have to figure out where you are positioned versus where other traders are positioned in the market. And Dylan talked about this as well. Retail traders are like fish. You are the fisherman. You're throwing out your line or your bait, and you're waiting for retail traders who are fish to bite on them. So that's why all my exits were at round numbers, because I just pulled my limits out and I waited for retail traders to bite on them. But nonetheless, this was my AMD trade. I only took this one trade. None of my other levels have hit yet. And when my other levels hit, I will capitalize on them. Let me just go over them really quickly. Apple over 135 I'm watching. Fubo over 33.5, I think 33.5 is a bit more accurate. Amazon I'm liking tremendously. Amazon over 3524 I believe is a level. Even Shopify I'm starting to like a lot too. Ascending triangle. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let me go to like a 30-minute ascending triangle right before all-time highs, because retail traders are going to chase the all-time high break. So a couple of good setups. The way I trade is I have my levels drawn out. None of the other things I'm looking at have reached my levels, and hence I have not executed anything else besides AMD. So I hope I did a good job of explaining AMD. I started off on the higher time frame, daily in 1 hour. Then I worked my way to an intraday time frame, identified the fact that we had relative strength, broke the longer term wedge, executed the trade, and had pretty good scale outs. So pretty good day on my end. I'm going to end the video here. I will be here to trade on Friday. Probably not Monday because I have my wisdom teeth removal surgery. But I will be here to trade on Friday and then every other day except for Monday next week. So I hope you guys take it easy and have a good rest of the day and week.